I've seen so many multiple roles, and at times this becomes quite bureaucratic. This is my personal experience which I have seen. It unnecessarily causes too much of delays, and due to this bureaucracy, many times projects actually end up into being overrun, and there are times when at the customer end also projects are actually scrapped off because they align with the enterprise group not moving forward as well. Or at times the person who is really requesting for the requirement basically is unable to get that service because there are too many kinds of review levels and really not meeting the customer requirements. So this is again one of the areas where we have seen that from all these three aspects, this again acts like a bottleneck. And again, from the another important point, as I mentioned to you, let's keep simple. Let's keep the simple development work simplistic. Let's not get into too much of enterprise architecture for such kind of area, because there are this large chunk of product development which we have in the application development and maintenance space in the product development companies really doesn't need any kind of enterprise architecture to be done. And by doing this, we are unnecessarily adding too much of time constraint, and we are really complicating it. What do you need?
Vijay, thanks for the points, but apart from certain data provided by you, you were just bittering around the bushes, and I believe your data which you have given again boils down to the same point. When you say that enhancements are not required to go through the enterprise architecture approval, again, that is what my contradiction is. You know, it again boils down to the same point that in order to pull the bicycle, you don't need a jack. Sir, understand something. The bicycle may not be just lying on the road. We are talking about a case when it is being surrounded by many other things, when it has got dependency on different components of the organization. To support this data, I have got a research paper from QPR Software, and Mike Newman, director of that enterprise architecture department, published that 75% of the organizations which are there in United States and to be more specific in North America and the EMEA region have rose their overall revenue by in the product development to 670 million, whereas their total investment was 170 million. I understand that enterprise architecture is a very rigorous cycle you need to walk through, but we cannot deny the fact that the returns which we are getting out of them are phenomenal. We are getting enormous results out of them, and things are actually onto the right track. Then, you need to, you mentioned that in case if a customer needs a service, then I am just holding him because I need to go through the enterprise architecture level. It is not something customer is on my door, knocking at my door and asking me to have a service. Rather, it's a complete plan. When you say service, a service is being provided through a product. And if I need to provide a product to the customer, I need to ensure that whatever information on the product I am providing it to him will have complete capability to make sure that his expectations are rightly met. And that's what the figures are there in front of us. I mean, from 170 million investment, we got the returns of 70 million. I agree that investment was more. I agree that there was too much effort and time spent on enterprise architecturing. But at the same point of time, you cannot deny the fact that what the figures are telling us, what kind of returns we are getting. I'll give you a simple scenario, in an organization, if let's say for example, you need to develop a tool to monitor some of your important components in your infrastructure. And this tool, what it does is that it has a monitoring to all the different components of the data centers, be it physical servers, be it router switches, be it any databases, critical applications. It monitors everything. Now tell me one thing, if I need to develop this particular tool, don't you think I need to have a discussion with the physical server team to ensure that what kind of monitoring features do we require in that particular tool? Don't you think I need to get in touch with the database specialist and also the application architecture team to understand that what kind of actually components are required in the applications, what are the thresholds to be set to monitor that stuff? And this is not only constructed to have a discussion with the infra team, rather it has a complete impact on the applications team, where we have different roles related to ERP, business intelligence, and based upon the complete series of closed matrix discussion, we come to a conclusion that the product should be developed which should have all these features. Moreover, we are forgetting one which comes into the picture in normal cases, and that is R&D, research and development department. They are also doing the research on their end. They know what is into the market and they suggested what needs to be done. This is just from the technical aspect. If I need to develop this tool, obviously I will have to check the financial aspects as well. I need to check that how those finances which are required to develop that tool, what kind of resources would be required. So what you are doing actually, if you think in broad sense, you are actually overall realizing the vision of the organization, because you as an organization develop certain tools, develop certain products which are required to monitor critical applications or services which is the requirement of the customer. And in case if I need to do that, I need to make sure that I check this on all the aspects. What if with small investments I develop the product, publish it into the market, and then people come up and say that this is not working and this feature is not working, that is not working. It's completely out of scope. You need to understand all the aspects. You cannot completely come up and say it's just pulling up a bicycle, I can pull it into my hand. If that would have been the case, the frameworks would not have been there. Two people could have done the incident management, but we need a complete process designing team, implementation team and working team. However, we are not talking about the frameworks, but we are talking about the product development. So the industry which is running has got a backbone, has got certain important facts, and this scenario which I have shown you here is not something which is hypothetical. Can you just open the research paper which I have studied as a part of my case study? It is there in the same folder. No, the second one, this one. Ready? Is it open? I don't think so. Anyways, just try to put Internet Explorer and see, because this is an HTML doc. Anyways, before this, by the time it opens. So, this is something which, it is one of the most important, blogging site, because enterprise architecture is very much into the discussion nowadays. And this site actually focuses on certain blogs which talks about the different applicability and different aspects of enterprise architecture in an organization. So from that case study, I find out something really good, wherein similar scenario was there. They had to implement a tool. They wanted to ensure if that tool is going to work or be applicable to the overall vision of the organization as a whole. But that couldn't. There were many conflicts. And you know the reason why. Reason is very simple. Overall enterprise of that particular enterprise architecture of that tool was overlooked. The tools team was doing their work, administration team was doing their work, research and development team was doing their work. There was no financial governance over that. As a result, what we got was something which was crap in the market. The reputation is at stake, your results are at stake. And this is just because you had a very close and nice escape that who will do all this, complex things. Smart people do not handle complex things as complex. They make it easier. And that's what we do as smart IT professionals. Let's not escape from it. Let's accept it and find out ways how easily we can handle this. So that not much of the time is spent in just doing the enterprise level architecture and then realizing the importance, and by the time your project needs to be completed in 2 weeks and you are completing it in 3 months just because you are analyzing the architecture. So that is also not reasonable. But at the same point of time, do have a close look at all the aspects of the organization: finance, infra, application and business intelligence. And there are a few more which, as I have shown in my previous slide. Over to you.
First thing which basically Mohit you need to understand from application product development is that simple straightforward question is that how many products does a company, do you think, launches in a year? New products?
Not much. I cannot say that Microsoft is coming up with different databases every day.
So see, we are not talking about here is the organizations. I'm talking about the real customers of ours, manufacturing companies, financial companies, the ICICI banks, many clients of ours in various verticals which we have, where they have home on-shelf applications, ERP applications. A company like that, how many times does it implement ERP in a year? Probably they will do implementation of ERP once in 7 years, 5 years and all that. So what we are talking about here is the data which you are talking about, such kind of new product development in organization, as I told you, is not more than, that's on a higher side, that's what they have told me, it's not more than 30%, because the budget which it takes, sucks the organization money. It goes to
can I interrupt for a minute?
Yes.
You know the reason why it is not so frequent? No, just answer me. You said that it's not frequent.
Yes.
You know the reason why it is not so frequent?
Because the point is, it is a new investment. It is part of your capital expenditure.
Exactly. He said that it's a part of your capital expenditure. He said it's going to suck your budget. That's what the point is.
Yes. So
you are investing into something which is obviously going to suck your budget. Why wouldn't you like to have a look at all the aspects before developing that product, which would help you to ensure that the product which you are developing is not getting wasted into the market? Because first you will do is that just to save investments, you will have a cheap product, and then in order to save your reputation, you will have service support for that.
Absolutely, and that is why at the beginning of the session itself, I have started off saying I am not going to take a complete against stand. There is these enterprise IT services products of the organization, which definitely still require this enterprise architecture review. But there is this large chunk of services, and especially the product development area, this large chunk of 70% of the work, these actually don't go through this enterprise.
Vijay, every time you are saying the word services, let's not go to services as something which comes after the product. We are talking about the development of the product. I am not supporting that product at the moment. I am just talking about when I am developing that product, do I need to have a look at the enterprise architecture or not? I am not here to discuss after the product what services are being provided. So let's not focus on service, let's focus on product development.
This is very important aspect. If you see, this one is the new industry which basically has understood the requirement. Why we are linking again with IT service? Because end of the day, what business basically looks at, and that is why if you see all this, end of the day now customers are not worried about how many products I have, how many services which basically my organization is able to, how many services of my business is IT able to serve to, that is what it is mapping to. So like take
No. It is mapping.
Continue with your example here so that it becomes more simple for you. If an airline company is there and they are basically going for this service called as loyalty program, they have something called as a loyalty program where they basically try to track the travelers. And loyalty is something which is an important IT service program which airline, from IT department has to provide to this travel, especially these airline transportation related companies. For this service, if they are going for a particular application, and this particular application, if it is totally out of the enterprise impact, and if it is specifically routed only for this particular catered of customers, many times it may not actually require intervention of enterprise architecture at all, because this has been specially designed and made for a specific purpose. And this is where, so that was again a new example.
Okay, just to take this.
Let me add on this and then you can come. And this similar thing, because this is where I am again insisting that like this particular IT service which is being provided by IT department for this particular group of the business, later on, whatever kind of enhancements which happen into this application, this particular product, it never impacts the enterprise. Like take for example email, yes it may impact the complete organization. Active yes it may impact. That is where we are trying to stress the point that you need to understand there is a difference between products which cater to enterprise IT services, there are products which cater to non-enterprise IT services, and this section is really big. Find it, Mohit, this is very big section, and this is a section where we are saying we should not be unnecessarily getting into the bureaucratic part of again making it go through the enterprise architecture.
Okay.